Hello, everyone. Great to be back in Rochester, rockin' Rochester. It's going great here. I want to start by acknowledging some VIPs. And by the way, you're all VIPs, so I've got all your names. This will take a while. But we're going to start with New York State Assembly Majority Leader Joe Morelli. Senator Joe Robach. New York State Canal Corporation Director Brian Stratton. Monroe County Executive Cheryl D'Onofrio. Monroe County Clerk Adam Bello. Members of the Monroe County Legislature, thank you for being here. Rochester City Council President Loretta Scott and members of the City Council. Town of Brighton Supervisor Bill Maley. Town of Arundecoy Supervisor Dave Seeley. Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Co-Chairs Bob Duffy and Ann Kress. And I want to recognize any members of the Regional Economic Development Councils here. You're great volunteers, along with these co-chairs. I have done this job. It's hard work. Thank you for what you do. Rochester Building and Construction Trades Council President Dave Young. Okay, now on to the program. Let me share with you my 3 favorite things to do in summer. 1, wear a suit. If I'm not wearing a suit, it's not summertime. 2, do a PowerPoint presentation. Nothing says summer like a PowerPoint. 3, hang out indoors, particularly in convention centers. Now, if you can bring those 3 things together in one event, for me, it's the triangle of happiness. So it's great to be here. The governor always shakes his head whenever I am speaking. I have noticed this is an issue. On to the PowerPoint. So, as you know, a key priority of the region's Finger Lakes Forward plan is fostering the transformation of downtown Rochester. And that is so true here in Rochester, and you see it everywhere, and I've got some slides that get into it, but it's great to see, and it's great that you have a governor, in all candor, who has a background in urban planning and in downtown revitalization. All those years at HUD, he understands the importance of downtown revitalization, place-based investments, and urban planning when it comes to economic development. And we're all proud to be his partner in that effort. I don't know why Buffalo doesn't have a cool sign like this welcoming you to Buffalo, but this is super cool, and we're jealous, and it gives me a good opportunity to segue into some of the projects that are going on in downtown Rochester. So one of them, as you know, is AIM Photonics, which leverages hundreds of millions of dollars of state funding, leverages literally hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding. And you may be aware and this is at On Semiconductor, under construction currently, in Eastman Business Park, which, by the way, has grown from 30 companies to over 100 companies at Eastman Business Park in the last 5 or 6 years alone. So let's hear it for EBP. And I want to say that optics, photonics, and imaging, having this national center and building on your industry here, do you know that you have over 20,000 jobs associated with this industry in Rochester and the Finger Lakes? Folks, this is the high-tech capital of upstate New York. You lead in every high-tech measure: venture capital, business startups, investment. Rochester has the incredible raw material, best defined by photonics, optics, and imaging, and making this the national center for that will pay you and this region dividends for literally decades and decades to come. Consistent with photonics and imaging, we have launched and just completed the first round of Luminate New York, which is the Photonics Venture Challenge. 10 companies have recently won between $100,000 and $1 million. Most of those companies are from out of state, and they're relocating to Rochester. So I know you'll look forward to welcoming them. This is the center again, and the amount of applicants we get for photonics is tremendous. So continuing to cement your position in that respect is key. You're also familiar with our support, the governor's support of Rochester Data Science Consortium, the Gorgon Institute. We did an event on this. I won't bring out that PowerPoint again, but we did an important event because you talk about industries, next generation industries. The governor is so focused on planting seeds of next generation industries. Here in Rochester, what industry really is growing faster than photonics, semiconductors, big data, right here in Rochester? It's important. Over 180 new jobs associated with this initiative. Datto, one of the most prolific startup New York companies in the state. Datto will have 350 plus jobs. They're well on the way, almost 300 jobs as we are here today. So it's really impressive, the job that they're doing. And again, our focus on growing next generation companies in emerging technologies. You recall the event we did recently at High Falls, live tiles in the coolest space in Rochester, second only to the convention center, of course. But this cool old industrial building, this is an Australian company, as you recall, relocating its North American operations to Rochester, committing to over 500 high-tech jobs in High Falls, which is fabulous. NextCore, with the University of Rochester, with RIT, with all of our partners at the Sibley building, investing over $10 million in NextCore, accelerators, incubators, again, to help these next generation early stage businesses to grow. And by the way, that's in the Sibley building, which you don't have to really think back that far or long to remember when that building was basically vacant and underutilized. Now, 1 million square feet completely repurposed, again, with the support of the governor, and over $30 million investment right on the main street in Rochester. So incredibly important. How do you really build a downtown with a void and a hole in downtown that large, with a vacancy that large? You don't. So fixing up that building, repurposing it, and all the other buildings downtown has been such a high priority for this governor. Infrastructure. When I talk to businesses about growing or relocating, what do they want to talk about? They want to talk about infrastructure. People are doing business internationally, and they want to know, what is your airport like? What is the service like? What is the convenience like? You're getting a new airport. Almost $80 million of state investment under construction to be completed later this year. Really impressive. The new Rochester train station, which is remarkable. I mean, it's the nicest train station I think I've ever been in. It's beautiful. I understand named after the late, remarkable Louise Slaughter, we did an event with her, who was extremely proud of this train station, but again, an important part of downtown's infrastructure. We did an event recently at the Strong Museum, investing $20 million of state funds and leveraging over $100 million of additional funds to expand the Strong Museum, but also a mixed-use development on the vacant property contiguous to the site. The first development on the now removed inner loop, which, how many of you miss the old inner loop? I don't either. Anyway, it was great to see. So those are just a highlight of some of the myriad of projects that are going on in Rochester that are helping you to transform this community and really remake the future. It is working. Jobs are on the rise in a dramatic way. Businesses are investing here. And most importantly, young people are coming back to Rochester, and young people are staying for the first time in about forever, it feels like. So let's hear it for that. Importantly, I want to highlight here that Rochester ranked 5th in hipsters in the nation. People just like me, but 40 years younger. They're coming back. That's what you want. You want all of that. After decades of neglect, Rochester's downtown has indeed reached a turning point. And I'm proud to say that today we are continuing the progress that we have made by focusing on one of downtown's greatest assets, the Genesee River waterfront. And this is consistent with what we have been doing and what the governor has been focusing on across the state, whether it's in the Mid-Hudson or in Syracuse or in Niagara Falls or in Albany. We are trying to reconnect the cities to their waterfront and leverage that amazing asset of waterfront that is so precious and holds so much transformational opportunity for the city and for the community. And I live in a place that has really reimagined itself around its waterfront. For those of you who have been to Buffalo's now active year-round waterfront, what we refer to as Canal Side, we have increased visitorship to Canal Side tenfold just in the past recent years. We're talking about from 150,000 to 1.5 million. And if you ask people in Buffalo, what is the most significant difference about this town? I remember when we used to spend all of our time thinking about the future of the waterfront as a chain store, sporting goods store. Put in a big chain store and be done with it. And we didn't do that. And we have reimagined the future, and we've created great programming and great access, and it is a center for the community and a tremendous source of pride. And our young people think about Buffalo differently. If you ask my kids, who are all 26, 8, and 31, if they were going to be in Buffalo, if you had asked them 10 years ago, and they will say this to me, not a one of them would have said that they would be in Buffalo. And actually, none of them are. No, I'm just kidding. 2 of them are, and I'm working on the 3rd. But we're optimistic. So in Rochester, we have been working on the waterfront. We have been developing the waterfront since 2011. We've committed already nearly $21 million and have leveraged over $100 million in total investments in projects that have been already completed or currently underway. So those projects include West River Wall. You can't say that 10 times fast. But that project has recently gotten started. It includes Erie Harbor Promenade, which is opening soon. It includes Main Street resurgence and the streetscape, and as we've talked about, the importance of Main Street, which goes right over the Genesee River. This year, we're expanding and maximizing our efforts, importantly, with a new comprehensive strategy. In February of 2018, we launched the ROC the Riverway initiative to transform the Genesee River waterfront. ROC the Riverway, and the governor committed $50 million to make ROC the Riverway a reality. Underutilized for too long, but it won't be that way for long. We created the ROC the Riverway Advisory Board, comprising leading members of the Rochester community, and I'll take that opportunity to just thank them generally. This type of service is important, and we appreciate all the time, and I'm sure many of you are here, so thank you for your participation in this. And to the community, who came out to over 30 community meetings to talk about their aspirations for the river and the riverway and how it can help transform and revitalize downtown. Reviewed nearly 30 different project proposals. The result is a book that most of you are familiar with called ROC the Riverway Vision Plan, which is a comprehensive development strategy for the Genesee River, for the revitalization of the waterfront and the future of downtown Rochester. And I suspect the governor will have more to say about the projects that have been submitted to him and have been reviewed by him. But I want to just say this. I have had the pleasure of working with this man for 4 years of regional economic development councils and now 3.5 years, 3 years, 7 months, and 3 weeks. And there is nobody who is more committed to getting stuff done, to drawing a line in the sand. I lived upstate for 37 years. I watched it take a small or large step backward every year for about 30 of them, until he became governor and he said, my highest priority is upstate New York. And that's been Buffalo, that's been Rochester, Syracuse, Binghamton, Watertown, Albany, you name it. It has made a sea change of difference. I couldn't have ever imagined what Buffalo would be like 7 years later from getting that fateful call one night in the bar from Bob Duffy saying, Howard, how would you like to have the REDC? And I had just enough beers in me to say absolutely without asking any questions whatsoever. No, I'm exaggerating. Don't print that or anything. But it has been an amazing transformation in Buffalo, and it is invigorating and inspiring, and it feels great to come to Rochester and have seen the exact same thing going on here. We are jealous of your assets and all that you have accomplished. So congratulations to all of you, and with great thanks to the amazing Governor of New York State, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back in Rochester. And it's always a challenge getting up after Howard Zemsky. It keeps you on your toes, because you don't know where he's going or what he might say. They say I shake my head. He said I was shaking my head when he was speaking. People say to me, can you talk to Howard about some of the things he says? I said, nope. No, he's a self-made man. I pay him $1 a year. Can't fire him. He's trying to get me to fire him, but I won't fire him. We just were at the opening of the National Comedy Center in Jamestown. They worked on it for 20 years. Howard got up. We were supposed to be doing the ribbon cutting, and took about 30 minutes explaining how they should change the Comedy Center if they wanted it to be really funny. He's got a great sense of humor, but he's extraordinary when it comes to economic development. What he has done for this state has been a true gift. To Mayor Lovely Warren, thank you for your leadership and your energy. She's doing a great job. Let's give her a round of applause. County Executive Cheryl Donalfo, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for all that you do. Bob Duffy, who I miss very much every day, was a great public servant and is still serving Rochester. God bless you. Senator Joe Roback, pleasure to be with you, my colleague. And that leaves former Assemblyman, current Assemblyman Joe Morelli. Now, people say to me, don't applaud yet. People say, I can't believe Joe Morelli is leaving Albany. I thought you guys were friends. I said, yeah, I thought so too, for like 30 years. And I understand you want to make a greater contribution in public service, and to heck with your friends and your colleagues and all your connections, you leave them behind. He's my most trusted friend in the legislature, but who am I and what difference does that make? So I can understand why our personal relationship was just meaningless when he made this decision to pursue Congress. I understand that. What I don't understand is why you would want to leave a functioning, responsible body to go down to a cauldron of gridlock and partisan mess. That's what I don't understand. But if there's anyone who can make it work better, it's Joe Morelli. God bless you, Joe. And to Adam Bello, let's give him a round of applause. And a special thank you to Hilda Rosario Escher, who serves on the ESD board, and then she has been doing double duty. We have an ongoing effort in Puerto Rico, and she has been fantastic. So thank you very much. As usual, Howard said everything that I was going to say, so let me just say it a little differently. The Rochester is doing great. And today, I think we take a very important step. I did work at Housing and Urban Development for 8 years, and we did economic development strategies and community development strategies all across the country. The one cardinal rule was when you're doing community development, economic development, you build on your assets. And the greatest asset you can have is to be on the waterfront. Water is just a magnet. People just love it. It attracts people. And you look at the turnaround economic development cities or regions, it's always around the water. And it's hard because literally you have to take the city and you have to turn it around, because the rivers were the back door to the city, right? That's where the goods came in and the factories were located. And you have to turn that city around so the river becomes the front door. And that's now the entrance way, and that's the recreation way, and that's where the restaurants are located, et cetera. But Baltimore Inner Harbor was one of the first, and it's really how they turned around Baltimore. Chicago Navy Pier was key to turning that city around. New York City, the whole west side turned into the Hudson Park. and cleaned up the whole west side, canal side in Buffalo. So it is a natural. And ROC the Riverway goes right to that strength and that intelligence. And it was a great vision, it was a great plan. We committed $50 million, but we wanted to see exactly what the projects were, because you have a concept and you can have a nice concept, but then the question is, what is the practical implementation? And the committee came together and they did a great job. And we are here today to tell you that we're going to honor our $50 million commitment, because we are honorable people. And the proposal was extraordinary. And we're going to fund the first 13 projects that make up the heart of the effort. We'll start with a $4.5 million to restore the historic Broad Street Aqueduct and make it a year-round public venue that will bring people to the waterfront. $1.5 million to create opportunity for outdoor library rooms, cafe spaces at the Rundell Library North Terrace. $6 million to renovate the Blue Cross Arena at the War Memorial and connect it to the riverfront. $5 million to transform the Rochester Riverside Convention Center into a premier venue. $20 million to re-energize the civic waterfront assets between Main Street and Andres Street, including Charles Carroll Park and the Sister Cities Bridge. 1.3, a riverfront promenade on Front Street. $1 million, outdoor skate park, which Howard wanted to do, but I'd say it's his hipster self did the skate park. $2 million to bring new life to the Genesee Gateway Park and turn it into an urban waterfront. $250,000 to bring Cornhill navigation and bring that tourism element back to the waterfront. $4 million for the Pont de Reine Bridge, which will be renovated. $500,000 to preserve the running track bridge. $1 million to improve High Falls Terrace. They will all be linked together by the Genesee Riverway Trail, and we're putting in place a downtown riverfront management entity that is going to coordinate all these activities and the marketing and the development. So, congratulations. And my last point is, a day like today, a project as big as this project with this success, you really have to take a step back and appreciate what you have done and the progress you have made. I remember when I first met Bob Duffy when he was mayor and I was Attorney General of New York, and Bob would go on and on about how the state was just nowhere to be found. And he needed a partner. He needed a partner. Why? Because you want to redevelop a city. You have all these ideas, all these dreams, what you could do with the riverfront, what you could do to attract business. But somebody has to be there to give you the investment capital to partner to do it. You need some place to start. And even if you have the energy and the ideas, who's going to help fund them? And the state was just absent. They were not there, and Bob would tell me stories about how we would go. They wouldn't even talk to him. They wouldn't listen. They wouldn't call back. And that was true all across upstate. Albany was myopically focused on New York City. That's the God's honest truth. It was just about New York City, and upstate New York just didn't register on their screen. The plan for Buffalo, the revitalization plan for Buffalo, when I was at HUD, New York State came in with representatives of Buffalo to talk about their economic development vision. Now, I was the HUD secretary, so I was talking to cities and states all across the country, and they all had these grand visions, and New York comes in to talk about Buffalo. What was their grand vision? To incentivize a Bass Pro Shop to come and locate on the waterfront, what they now call Canal Side. I said, and? That was it. That was the plan, to bring a Bass Pro Shop. I love Bass Pro Shops. I love to fish. I go there. But what is that? That's 15 clerk jobs at a Bass Pro Shop? How is a Bass Pro Shop an economic development strategy? And that was it. That was it. And it was that way for Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse. And the reason why Bob ran for lieutenant governor with me the first time was just to get upstate on the screen. And just to say to Albany and state government, we need a partner. We did that. This administration has invested over $36 billion in upstate New York, the greatest investment of any administration in the history of the state of New York. Over $1 billion for the Finger Lakes Forward Awards alone. And it is working. It is working, and you have to appreciate that. You know, for many decades, really, upstate New York was stagnant. That is over. Things are happening. If I said to you, we're going to build you a new Rochester airport, you would have said it's never going to happen. We're doing it. A new strong museum. We're going to make Eastman Kodak Business Park actually work. We're going to bring in photonics, hundreds of new jobs and new companies. And we're going to turn around the demographics where young people are going to come back. I mean, that would be unheard of. Young people have been leaving upstate New York for the past 40 years. And we've turned that around, and young people are now coming back, and these things are happening. And as they happen, there's a synergy among them. And there's a catalytic effect. So ROC the Riverway works with the strong museum, works with the new airport, works with the new train station, and one builds on the other. And that energy comes together. And that's what you're feeling in Rochester. And that's what you have to appreciate, and that's what you have to communicate, because it is infectious. And growth begets growth. And success begets success. And that is the road you are on, and it's proud to be part of it. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor Lovely Warren.
Thank you, Governor Cuomo. Let's give him another big round of applause. So excited to welcome you back to Rochester to announce the ROC the Riverway projects. I want to thank Bob Duffy, Ann Kress, Howard Zimsky, Vinny Esposito, our state representative, Joe Morelli, Joe Robach, our leaders on City Council, Council President Loretta Scott, members of City Council, Adam Bello, our county executive. We are so excited about this particular project. I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of making this project happen, from the committee that worked so very hard, that met for many hours, over months, that conducted many community meetings. Let's give them a big round of applause. A special thanks to our City Hall team, Kevin Kelly, Commissioner Norm Jones, Bergman Associates, the countless hours that you spent in bringing this concept to the state. We truly appreciate each and every one of you at City Hall. Let's give City Hall a round of applause. So when I was a kid, my sister, cousins, and I, we would go down to Genesee River bank and play along the trails of the Genesee Valley Park. We would ride our bikes for miles along the canal and share adventures, lifelong adventures that we now talk about with our children. Standing here today announcing the first phase of this project is about creating a legacy that can be passed on from one generation to another, and building a heritage that the children of Rochester can be proud of. You see, in 1985, it was then Governor Mario Cuomo that stood on these grounds and opened the door to new possibilities for the home of Kodak, Xerox, and Bausch & Lomb by building this convention center. And now, over 30 years later, today stands his son, Governor Andrew Cuomo, opening up new doors of possibility to the home of Datto, CGI, Brand Networks, Livehouse, NextCorp, Rochester Regional, University of Rochester, RIT, MCC, 16 other colleges and universities that surround our region, along with thousands of companies that are investing in our community because of his help. Thank you, Governor. You see, Rochester is no longer a company city. We are a city of companies, and it is thanks to the millions and billions of dollars that have been invested by the state of New York and in this region. I also want to take an opportunity to thank Governor Cuomo for his compassion and his support for our citizens in Puerto Rico. Since the island has been damaged, we have had over 3,000 people move to our region. And with the state's assistance and partnership with Hilda and Ibero, the city, and other providers, we have been able to help them transition seamlessly into our community. When you've lost everything and have nowhere to turn, it's nice to know that you have a friend in Governor Cuomo who's willing to lend a helping hand. So as he's rebuilding New York from city to city, investing in businesses, company to company, rebuilding housing, neighborhood by neighborhood, and lifting up our citizens, person by person, we say thank you, and we stand with you. Today's announcement will allow us to bring our community together around the power of the Genesee, to rebuild, to reinvest, and to reignite our riverway, so that my child, our children, will say that when help came, we accepted. When we had the opportunity to stand up for people, we did. And when we needed to rock the riverway, we did. Thank you, Governor Cuomo. Thank you, Rochester. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Rochester's favorite son, the leader of the Chamber of Commerce, and also co-chair of the Regional Council, Bob Duffy.
First of all, I want to thank Mayor Warren, and I have a number of thank yous to Mayor Warren and her leadership on this project. It's unsurpassed, and she mentioned it, but Mayor and her city team were absolutely outstanding with this whole project, and that the talent that she has led and has under her command has just been extraordinary. I want to thank the Mayor and the great City Hall team for the efforts of this project. I want to thank Howard Zemsky and the great Empire State Development team, and Vinny Esposito, Regional Director, was mentioned. Vinny worked with us every day in this project, but the Howard and ESD and everybody on the Empire State Development team, thank you. A great collection of teamwork, and I want to just put in the hours they put in, the support was unsurpassed. So I want to thank all of them, and thank you very much. Nothing happens without the help of our legislature and support of the governor, so I want to thank Majority Leader Joe Morelli and Senator Joe Robach and their respective teams, the Assembly and the Senate, for what they have done. Always there, always involved with projects, always supporting things, getting things done, and deserve a lot of credit for this project and everything else we've seen so far. So thank you both. And to all elected officials, county executive, and all elected chair, I thank all of them in City Council. I'm going to just segue into the next part. This project, when the governor announced that Ann Kress and I would be co-chairing it, we all had plenty to do, so I took a deep breath. And then going into this is one of the most extraordinary projects I've ever had the pleasure of being around and people I've worked with. And I want to recognize them by name, because these folks have volunteered their time. They got paid less than $1 a year than Howard Zemsky. They got nothing for this. But this is, I'm going to have them, whoever's here, I want them to stand. I'm going to start with the great president of Monroe Community College, Ann Kress. I'm going to have her stand. And please stay standing. We're good. Lisa Barron from Utopia. Clement Chung, he's a past president of Rock City Coalition. Clement. Veronica Dasher from RG&E. I'm not sure if Jim is here. Jim Howell from Nature Conservancy. I think he had a conflict. He might not be here. Norm Jones from the city of Rochester, a great leader. Nicole Malik from Constellation Brands. Eugenio Marlin from Ibero-American Development Corporation. Mary Beth Pop from North American Breweries. Heidi Zimmermeyer from the Rochester Downtown Development Corporation. And don't sit down yet. I just want to say this. Not only did they meet and go to meetings. Oh, that guy. Not here. Sean Dunwoody. I went right over. From Dunwoody Visual Consulting, who I'm going to give Sean personal credit for the skate park project because he was the voice over and over and over again. And I'm doing this without glasses, so I apologize, Sean, but please stay standing. This team not only spent countless hours on this project, we had meetings, we had public meetings, but what they did do was they went out sometimes on their own and met with various constituencies, neighborhood residents, to make sure voices were heard over and over again. It might be 2 or 3 going out, but the time they put in really led to this success, and we owe them all a great debt of gratitude, so thank you all. A special thank you to Sean. Thank you very much. Now, the last part, I'm going to go to the governor. And as the governor knows, I never go on script, so bear with me on this one. First of all, the projects that went over earlier today, I think it's important to reinforce to everybody here what has actually happened. And having had a first row seat for many years and seeing what this man has done, I can remember a time when we did not have support. We did not see some of the projects, some very lean times. If you add up what you saw on the screen, and I'll even add more to that, I believe we have seen somewhere in the area of $2 billion with a B in this region over the last 7 years. $2 billion. You add on ROC the Riverway, which is a $50 million pledge for this beautiful riverway right out to our left and your right. You add that on, and time again, the projects that have really come from his office really have helped transform and will transform this city and this region, and it has not always been this way. And I would have to say the term fake news gets used quite a bit. When I hear that projects have been failures, that investments have been failures, I'm sorry to say, folks, if you think it's been a failure, come out and walk with the mayor. I walk downtown and walk one project to another. The issue many years ago, you could park anywhere in the city and have no trouble parking. The mayor knows right now parking is a premium. Why? Because there are people everywhere coming down, people walking dogs, businesses, employees. You see it everywhere. We are in the midst of a tremendous transformation. And with all the help that he's had, I give credit to the governor for what he has done time and time again, investing money here. Howard mentioned Buffalo. Buffalo didn't happen by accident. Buffalo is transforming. You see it, you feel it. It started with a pledge that he made many years ago to invest in Buffalo, and that really started that whole process going. You go and you see it now and see what that great city has done. It is phenomenal. And you look what's going on here and in this region. You mentioned all the companies. We have more companies coming here. Throw in American Packaging and many others. We have companies coming here, investments being made. And yes, sometimes some investments don't pan out. Not every business that goes into business stays in business. That's a natural economic reality. But the investments that this governor has made here, time and time again, have made a huge difference. We talk about the good old days, folks. We're living in the good old days right now, because what we're seeing now, we have not seen in the past for a long, long time, if ever. And I would say this without any hesitation: no governor has put more money and more time, more emphasis in our region than this governor has. And I don't think he gets enough credit for it. And as I listen to Howard Zemsky go through project by project, keep those things in mind and walk around and see what is happening. Jobs are growing, people are coming here. I think tourism was mentioned. I had a meeting this morning with Don Jeffries. He was citing the millions and millions and millions of dollars coming into the city, county, and state just from taxes alone and revenue from tourism. And the most recent project Howard mentioned, the Strong Museum, that is a #1 or #2 destination in Canada for people coming here from out of this country coming. So on behalf of all of us, Governor, I want to thank you for what you've done. I want to thank you for coming today and making this project real, for all the support you've given us. But I also want to say that you don't get credit for what you do. And I would urge you to keep telling people, because in politics, campaigning and governing are two different things. You can say what you want during a campaign. Governing means getting things done. Governing means making things happen. Governing means making decisions. And I can tell you, project after project, the ones you mentioned here, storms, even something as simple as after one of the big storms in the Adirondacks, in Keene Valley, a bridge was washed out. And that bridge separated people in that valley to 87 going back to Albany. And I remember a discussion where it would be somewhere between 4, 5, or 6 weeks to repair that bridge. I want to say the bridge was repaired in about 5 days. Why? Because somebody got behind it and made it happen. And folks, I'm telling you, you need somebody who is not afraid to get in, make tough decisions, who sees investments, makes it happen, and make sure he sees those things through. And I would say on behalf of Rochester and the Finger Lakes region, we are blessed to have the investments we have, and this place is growing really because of a lot of people here, but specifically I want to give credit to Governor Andrew Cuomo. So thank you so much, Governor. And now I invite you downstairs for the groundbreaking downstairs. Actually, we're going to cancel that. We're a little change. We're going to end the program right now. So on behalf of the governor, I think I altered his travel schedule. Thank you so much for coming today. And again, Governor, thank you.